Let me share my screen. So as we go through this, there's no need for you to do anything apart from just watch, take notes, have a think about it, because we'll come back to this again tomorrow morning for a Q&A again. And if we don't have time today, but we'll do a Q&A as well. And then tomorrow morning, you'll start work on this. So what does that mean? Share screen, desktop one. Away we go. Look at that, join the conversation. Goodbye, Zine. Okay, this is your guide for what you're going to be doing, user management. We're going to do both sign up, so creating users, and then signing them in and signing them out. And the process we're going to use is just simple email and password. There is a few different sign-in sort of strategies that we can use. We can use tokens and single sign-on stuff that we're not going to get into for this project. We're going to just do simple email and password management. So tomorrow morning, what I want you all to do is make sure you've forked and cloned the Bookmark Manager repository. And then when you cloned it down, I want you to check out the user management branch. So there are two branches here. You can have a look at the user management branch. This is up to the point of the Bookmark Manager where you've will have got to. There might be some many stuff that you haven't yet done, but you're going to start. Everyone starts from the user management branch tomorrow morning, and make sure we're all at the same place to start with. So everyone's going to start from here. And when you start, make sure you go through your normal setup, but then you're going to clone this Trello board. So this Trello board looks like this, with a lovely background color of some kind of lilac, potentially. Anyone know what the background color is actually? Has a name for it? Other than generic purple? Great. I don't really know. Fuchsia? No, fuchsia's quite light and pink. Anyway, okay, so we have a Trello board. Anyone used Trello before? Hopefully, because we didn't have our learning plan sort of template originally was on Trello, so hopefully we've all seen this before. The idea behind this is that we're going to have some kind of 3 columns. We call this kind of style of board a Kanban board. The Kanban board means that tickets flow from left to right. In this case, we have cards. So we're going to start off with a bunch of things in our lovely column to do. So the first thing that I want you to do, which I'm going to demonstrate with everyone now, is to diagram. And I've laid out a specific way of implementing this as a user registration. This is not the only way to do this, and this is also contingent upon working from the user management branch from Bookmark Manager demo. So wherever you're at in your own projects, put that to one side, and everyone starts from here. Over the weekend or over the mornings, if you want to use your Chitter challenge, you can just follow along and transfer your knowledge. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to diagram our user journeys, and you're going to go through sort of each step at a time, making sure you have a picture in your head about how to diagram it. After you diagram it, you're going to codify your user journeys as Cypress tests. What they're there for, to codify the end-to-end journey. After you've done that, then you go through the specific steps that we need to do. And there's some resources here to help you think about each of the steps. Add links for the interview, to make GET requests, add a controller. These are all things that you have done before, but there are some additions here that you'll have to think about. So we'll go through, you diagram it first, and you'll codify it, and then you'll go through creating new users, and then you'll go through the same process again for signing users in and out. Diagram, codify, and then implement. So that's the approach we're going to take over the next couple of days to think about making sure that we've got a handle on some simple user management, creating users and signing them in and signing them out. Whenever you get stuck, there are two things you can do. One is escalate, as you would do, with your pair partner, with your peer group, cohort, with me. You can also look at the repository on the latest branch. Go back to the main branch and have a look at whatever you need to. Try and keep it scoped to what you want. There's an implementation here of a completed version of this. So don't try and like just copy everything. Just always, when you get blocked, go back and use this as a resource. So the driving force here is thinking about each of these steps and trying to implement them. And it's set up in a way where I want you to diagram first, so you have this sort of overall picture in your head, so you codify it in tests, and then you start work. Does that broadly make sense as an approach that we're going to do over the next couple of days? Cool, thumbs up, some thumbs up. Anyone ask any questions just about the how, not necessarily the what of what we're going to do, how we're going to do it over the next couple of days?
Is this just purely pair work?
This is going, yeah, great question. Let's have a quick look at the calendar to make sure I don't misrepresent this. No, that is the wrong one. That's the right one. What was I going to do? How did I think about this? Yes, it's going to be pair work. So the reason it's going to be pair work is we're going to have Q&A sessions in the morning, Thursday and Friday, to make sure you're unblocked. And then we'll also have some specific workshops if needed in the afternoon. So we're going to change it around a little bit. I'm keeping this as a placeholder tomorrow afternoon to see if we need to do anything in particular, any sort of cohort level blocks, because there's a few new things that we need to do. And then Friday afternoon, an entirely unrelated but interesting session on a different kind of database. And so that should that'll be useful just to know, but not that you'll need it for the weekend challenge. So there's also, yes, you'll be pairing Thursday and Friday. Good question. Any other questions at the moment? I want to start diagramming and show you the kinds of things we'll need to do. Cool. Okay, so let's have a look at, let me move your faces out of the way. Okay, so part of what you'll do in your pairs tomorrow is to diagram. So let's take this first page here. What I want you to do is to start off diagramming so you get a sense of the flow of what you need to do. So we're gonna have a look at this together. So user navigates to the index and sees a sign up link. So in our diagram, I'm going to see if I can. I've got a huge space here, which is good. Get rid of you. And let's start off with some page. Oh, that is not on the right place. Let's move you over there. So imagine that we have a request to the index. You navigate to your browser like this. And I want to be able to see, as it said here, I want to be able to see a sign up link. So given that this is the first time we're actually using anything on the index, we need to be able to have just a simple, what does it say, a sign up link. Let's use the link. Sign up. And it said that a sign up link navigates to bookmarks and is redirected back to the index. Okay, so user navigates to the index and sees a sign up link. Well, for that to happen, we need to have an application, and I'm going to just keep this as a simple sort of user journey. In order to navigate to the index, we need a controller for managing requests for anything at the index. We need a view for the index to hold this information about what this page looks like. This link is going to make when we click on it, it's going to make a GET request. And when we click on this sign up link, I want to create a new user. So when we think of RESTful routes, the convention here is going to create a resource. What's our resource? A user. So in this case, we're going to think about creating a new user. Now, you'll see two main conventions here when we think about what the resource is. You'll see it be called either a user, or you'll see it called a registration. And sometimes we split these two things up and call registrations just the act of creating a new user, signing them up. And any other user management in terms of showing information for a user or removing a user is handled differently. So I'm going to call just this part of it, I'm going to call it a registration. Sometimes we'll also see it called a user in terms of the actual resource that we model in our application. And sometimes you'll see both. So if I click this link, I want to go to a controller, something like registrations/new, because this will show me the page to be able to sign up. So for this, I'll need a controller for registrations. And I'll need to be able to respond to specifically any GET requests at /new or registration/new. And I want to be able to have a view for this page. What does this page look like? Very simply, I want to have an email and a password and a submit button. Email, password, and submit. What does a submit button do? This submit button makes a post request. Makes a post request. And I want to post to registrations. So I go post registrations, something like this, creating a new user. From a user perspective, if it's successful, I then want to be redirected to /bookmarks. A successful user creation means that I'm able to see all my lovely bookmarks. So this is going to be some kind of flow that suggests that we've managed to create a user and they've been able to see our bookmarks. Now, another user journey. Well, before I get there, what do we need to do to handle this? I need a controller action, a controller to handle the post request. I need a database model for a user. What else do I need here? A few things. I need to be able to have, for the user, I need to have an email field. I need to have a password field. But we're not going to store plain text passwords. If you think back to the lovely work we did in JS Fundamentals about sort of encoding and decoding things, we need to find a way to encrypt our password. We're never going to store plain text passwords in our database. So what we're going to do is we're going to only store password hashes. A hash is a fancy name for an encrypted password. Now, the way that we're going to do our password hashing is we're going to use a node module called bcrypt, quite a common, useful package to help us encrypt stuff and also compare strings to hashes. So in order for this to work, we're going to have to install a new module or a new package and use it in our project to help us encrypt passwords before we store them in the database. So we'll need a database model for this. We'll need a corresponding migration to tell our database what it needs to do. I think that's probably mostly about it for the moment. When we create the user and it successfully creates, I also want to assume that the email field is in an email sort of type. So there'll be some what we call client-side validation over here to make sure that this input is type password. That helps us do some client-side validation. Type email, and so it'll have to be in some kind of email format. But there'll also want to be some server-side validation on the email model with a validation here that says the type here needs to be type email. So we'll have to have a look at adding validation to our model. So that's something that we'll have to look up. And there'll be a resource in the Trello board to how to do that. So we want to make sure our email is a type email. You can also add more validations later if you want to, but for now, let's just focus on one validation. What else do we need to do? And then the other thing we need to do once they've successfully created a user is make sure that they are signed in. So all we're going to do for our sign-in concept is use a session. A session, let me make sure we can still read it. A session is going to allow us to persist data in between requests. We were using local app locals the last time we did this, try to find a way to persist data. But all we're going to do is a simple version of this, which is to store the ID of a user in the session. Now, what this means is we need to use sessions. So we need to add something to our project. So let's put this here. Sessions is green because it was new stuff. I guess it's also new stuff. So that will need to install a package. In the post to registrations for our controller action to handle this request to create a new user, if it's successful, we're going to have to find a way to add the user ID to the session. If it's not successful, let's draw out another version of this. So say, for example, we post to registrations, there's another version of this, and rather than get taken to bookmarks, they post to registrations, and their data is not correct. They forgot to fill in one of the fields, for example. And they're going to get shown back to the sign up page. So back to the email and password and submit button. So this is the unhappy path. So if this is success, this is failure. We need this user journey. So everyone goes through the sign up process, but they forget to put in the email, for example, and we have to show them the right thing. And in which case, the user is not signed in at the same time. So there are We also have to show user navigates to other parts and is redirected back to the index. Okay, so we have to make sure that we have a check. So let's do one more. Let's do it here. If I make a request and go straight to /bookmarks without being signed in, I want to be redirected to the index, and so it's going to be back to the sign up. I won't be able to access anything at the moment. So this is an unsuccessful sign-in process because we haven't yet implemented the sign-in. We only, the moment, once we implement this path, the only way we can see any of our bookmarks is to sign up. Once we signed up a user, they're automatically signed in if it's successful. Otherwise, we redirect back to the index. This is at the index. It's not what we call it. Let's do. And this is the back to the index. Okay, that's back to registrations. New. That's what I want to show because it wasn't successful. What else do we have to diagram here? So user navigates to the index and sees a sign up link. User navigates to the index and sees a sign up link. User navigates to /bookmarks and is redirected back to the index because we're not signed in. In the same way, both get requests to bookmarks and also to tags, and then any name that you want that is an available tag. That's one of the user stories for a bookmark manager that you can search for bookmarks on the different tags. Both I want you to redirect to the index. User clicks on sign up link and is shown a sign up form. User clicks on a sign up link and sees a sign up form. That's this interaction here. Click on the sign up link. We get the sign up form. User fills in the sign up form with valid input, submits the form and is shown /bookmarks. And then over here, they fill in the information. A successful one shows the bookmarks. And if it's with an invalid email, so for example, it's too short, the user is shown the sign up form again with the error message. User, so we have to add some information here, which is some error message. Now, in order to be able to display the error message, we'll need to find a way to display, let's put this in green, display an error message. That's something that we'll have to have a look at how to do. User can navigate the app once signed in, once signed up and signed in. So once you've signed up, you should therefore be able to navigate the site. Cool. So this is diagramming 1, 2, 3, 4 potentially user journeys. The successful sign up, the unsuccessful sign up, and then if you haven't signed up, the redirections for different parts of the site that currently exist. And I wanted to give you an overview of the kinds of things that you'll need to do, starting from tomorrow morning, to think about implementing this. And we'll move in small steps, one by one, to make this work. Starting with thinking about the controller for the index, making sure you can see this page with a sign-up link, then creating the controller for the registrations to be able to see the sign-up form, and then thinking about adding a model to our database, and then using bcrypt to encrypt our passwords. In the implementation steps, there are resources for you to have a look at to help you with them. But the first thing to do clearly is after you've diagrammed it and so clarified in your head the journeys that a user will take through your application, is to then write the tests for each of these things, or a few of them at a time. So you'll want to end up with a user journey that says you can sort of sign up and then see the bookmarks. That should be one test and one Cypress test. You should have another test where you sign up but it's not successful, and you get redirected back to the registration's new, and then you can have one test, and that's the redirect if you haven't yet signed up. What do you think? Thumbs up.
Is password confirmation not important? You know how you normally sign up and they make you type it twice.
What's the question? Do you want to sign up? Do you want a password confirmation field?
Yeah, in case you mistype the password the first time around, then can't log in.
Yeah, if you want to add a password confirmation field, feel free to. We'll add in a check if you want to the authentication process. So if we have a look, when you post it, you'll have to make sure you add that information to your schema. So I'll have a password hash field and a password confirmation field. No, I won't have a password confirmation field, just have the password hash field, but you'll do a comparison when you post that data across in the controller action to handle the creation. You want to check that the two things are the same. If they're the same, you can create the instance. Otherwise, you can reject with an error message. So if you want, you can just model it and add in a field here. Whatever you want, password confirmation. PwC, look at that. Is it frozen? There you are. So you send all that information across, and then you can make the comparison there. Are they equal? If so, continue forward and go through the other validations. Otherwise, reject and send an error message back. Cool. Feel free. You don't need to. I'm trying to keep it as simple as possible. And stylistically, I don't like confirmation fields. Just get it right the first time around. An extra thing, an extra hassle in order to have the same thing that you just typed.
So what happens when you
just click the show
password right?
Just click the show visible thing. Just check it before you do. Like,
yeah, but isn't adding a show visible harder?
Well, are you talking about like for what we're doing right now, or are you just in general in life?
No, I like what we're doing right now.
Yeah. No, don't worry about it.
Okay.
For what we're doing right now, if you wanted a confirmation check, adding an input field for it it will be easier. I don't think it comes inherent with the input field type. You might be able to. Yeah. I mean, you can add some JavaScript to do if you wanted to. Like, yeah, it'll be a little bit more tricky to do just simple server-side check. Other thoughts and comments as a high-level view about what kind of work we're going to be doing in the next couple of days. The process of modeling this out is important because I'd expect you to be doing this for all of your challenges like this. When you think about clarifying your user journeys after you have some requirements. For your Chitter challenge, you might not want to go exactly the same like routes. Like, some people will want to see the sign-up form at the index, for example, rather than having a link to get you there. So there are different implementations of this. I'm trying to keep it simple but feel free to redesign this so long as you go through the same user journey flow and then codify in a test and then start work for your trigger challenges. Any concerns, any thoughts? Excited? So by the time we get to the end of this, you will have built a full stack application backed by database with user management in a fundamental way. You will have done everything that most applications are built off. And then the next steps will be to add complexity, add more JavaScript to make interactions faster and more dynamic and richer. But everything is sort of essentially based off of this idea. At least for classic web applications, and then I want to move to splitting out the going back to what we did before with thinking about APIs to return information, and then a front end. And we'll do the next few weeks. We'll think about doing that, but using a different programming language will be fun. Cool. That's it. That's what I wanted to do. Any questions? Any thoughts?
On a side note, have we still got? Are we still planning to have that talk at lunchtime tomorrow?